social media didn't just change communication, it's changing identity. The way people present themselves, the way attention is rewarded, and the way algorithms amplify certain behaviors created an entirely new cultural landscape. In this series, we're exploring the intersection of influence, technology, human psychology, and hypersexualization. And we're asking the bigger questions about where all of this is leading. You're listening to our special series, Identity in the Age of Algorithms and Hypersexualization, where we explore how digital culture and attention economies are shaping the way people see themselves and the world. Welcome to Identity in the Age of Algorithms and Hypersexualization.
Hi, I'm Brianna Hetherington.
I'm Jen Hatcher. And I'm Kat Gottlieb.
Welcome to the Conscious Creator Community Podcast. We are over the moon excited to share our wisdom, experiences, and valuable insights to becoming the best version of yourself.
I think, Jen, you're going to be talking about power dynamics next.
I am, but first I have to answer the question. And Kat, you made me think of so many things. I jotted notes per the norm. But I want to start with the man aspect because we're going to dive deep into the grooming conversation on another episode. We have an episode on grooming. Like it's in works. I'm sure we'll add to it, but the bones are there. But with the dad perspective or the man perspective, there's a recent video I saw from a dad who was like, listen, my daughter wants to wear cropped t-shirts and she's, 6 or 7 years old. It's what's available. It's for sale. Everybody's wearing it. Should I be challenging my daughter, who's the young girl, that this is what she wants to wear because what everybody's wearing it? Or should we be challenging society that, number one, we're normalizing this and making this okay, but number two, that we're also teaching our daughters that they need to cover themselves up because otherwise somebody might look at them in a different way or might look at them in a way that's unwholesome. And I thought that was a really, really interesting perspective on not only paradigm of what we're seeing and how it's promoted. I thought that dad's perspective was really interesting of like, am I telling my daughter she needs to cover up because that's what's right for her? Or am I telling her she needs to cover up because other people are going to judge her and shame her or look at her in an unhealthy way because she wants to wear this crop t-shirt? And do we need to look at the manufacturers and why are they manufacturing and promoting this to young children who are 6 and 7 years old? So again, not this episode, but definitely tied into the grooming episode. And that little, I think it was a reel, actually. I saw it on social media, but the dad brought up a lot of really, really good points about paradoxes and paradigms and what's being promoted. So I do look forward to digging into that on the grooming episode, and we're going to go so deep there. It's going to be super fun. But Bree, to answer your original question of, have I ever performed in a way online that, was changing maybe how I present myself? And the answer is abso-freaking-lutely, 100%, for many reasons. Reason number one is when I again was in my late 20s, early 30s, and I was single, I learned that if I posted pictures where like I tilted my chin a cute way or I looked up at the camera a certain way, like I got more likes and I got more comments where they literally like, you're so cute. Like, thank you. I'm so cute. Right? I needed to hear that today. Thank you. So 100%, yes, I did that. I am owning that. So I'm not, when we're talking about these things, it's not coming from a place of judgment. It's coming from a place of awareness and being aware of our behavior, right? And so I want to be really clear. Like, we're very passionate about the things we talk about. We're not approaching it from a judgment perspective. That's not where we come from. We're coming at it from an awareness perspective. And are you aware? And if you are aware, are you in control of it? And are you choosing to be in control of it? And do you see that maybe the path that you're on isn't the only path? So it's all about empowerment, people. I want I want to call that out, and that's really, really important, right? Because passion can be construed as judgment, and that's not who we are, and that's not what we're doing. I actually love Facebook memories because it allows me to see how much I've grown over the years, and it is fascinating to me. It's also, here's a cringeworthy moment. I'm noticing during that same period where I was super cute, for a while, I was typing posts and I would say probably, Prolly. Like, I didn't even, I can't even say it. Like, I probably should do this today. And I genuinely was in a phase where, like, I was presenting myself as cute, fun person. Because internally, I was in a really bad place. I was in a terrible place, and I was trying to find the joy in every day. That was my goal. What is the joy today? Let's get through today in the best way we can. Let's do the behaviors and actions and habits that will make tomorrow better. But I was trying to be lighthearted when I wasn't. And I was trying to present and show up in that cute, fun, lighthearted way, even though that's not where I was in life. So again, I want to own, we as humans have always shown up in ways that we feel will present well to the rest of the tribe. And you don't have to do that. I did it myself.
And I think that's at the crux of this problem, because we've all done things that we're like, oh, why did I think I had to do those things, right? But the problem is now it's with social media, you can't grow any change without it being in the ether somewhere. All those things are now, people are going to see.
Yes.
And you could kind of forget that, like, I can kind of forget all the phases I went through because I didn't have it on social media. It would be really difficult and very hard psychologically if I had to repeat seeing all the mistakes that I made, figuring out who I was. So
100%, because these are coming up 16, 17, 18 years later. Like, when Facebook first came out into the world, it wasn't just for college kids anymore. It was for everybody.
yeah.
I'm seeing these memories from all those years ago, and sometimes it's very therapeutic. Yeah. And like I said, sometimes it's super cringy, like, oh God, I was trying so hard. And that's just, I'm sad for me in that phase of life that's how I felt like I had to show up. So let's bring it back to the topic, hidden power dynamics. And this is really a layer that we don't talk about because they're hidden, but they're really not hidden, right? It's like Bree said, there's 10 powerful people who control everything that you are exposed to in any form of media, give or take, for the big networks and all of that, and the social media and all that. So it's hidden, but it's not, because it's in plain sight. Power dynamics and not hidden / hidden power dynamics are insane. They probably need their own episode. We're not giving it its own episode today, but we are diving into it. And so when that attention, again, is tied to our very primal instincts of attractiveness or sexuality for everybody, and I'm speaking from the viewpoint of a female. So from the female perspective, it can create really complicated signals. I feel it necessary to call out right here the Me Too movement. And it popped into my head because the Me Too movement was calling out this power dynamic, and that men in powerful positions were for decades holding women to, expectations and things that were not appropriate. And if the women rebelled, then they were blacklisted from getting important roles and things like that. It's not okay. And it's really interesting that the Me Too movement was so powerful. And at the same time, it got a lot of backlash, which was super interesting. And I perceive it's something that many of our listeners can recognize and identify with. And so when you look back at your teens or your early 20s, as you're trying to start building careers, things like that, it doesn't have to be career related exactly. But Bree, do you think attention ever influenced the types of relationships or the kinds of relationships that you entered when you're thinking back?
Woo! Oh, yeah. 110%. And not even just romantic relationships, but I'm talking friendships, family, work relationships, all of the above. It was highly influenced, especially in my 20s. I would say as a teen, I was always kind of just authentically me. And then as I got into my 20s, I definitely started shifting in a way where I was trying to fit that relationship rather than being authentically me. And when I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, the attention absolutely influenced so many of these relationships. And even you bringing up like power dynamics, thinking about work and working in LA and working in the entertainment industry and television. And there was so many power dynamics, and it was so confusing, how to show up and who am I in this world? And, I felt like I had to be this person to either appease the people around me or the group around me of friends or the people I was working with. Like I had all these different versions of me, but they weren't me. And I really lost myself in my 20s because of that. So when we're young, attention can feel exciting, like you guys were saying. It can feel validating. It can even make you feel seen or chosen. And I did feel that in my 20s. And when you're still figuring out your identity and your worth, it's easy for those signals to get mixed together with what you think confidence or connection is supposed to feel like. So sometimes the attention itself can shape the dynamic. And you might feel drawn to someone because they're giving you that validation, or they're grooming you, or because the attention feels powerful in just that moment. But later, with more awareness and maturity, you start realizing that attention and genuine connection are not the same thing. That realization, was one of the best lessons that I learned, and a really, really important shift for myself. Because over time, I began to understand that what actually sustains healthy relationships isn't attention. And like you both said, it is those insecure people that are just projecting onto you. And I was so vulnerable and naive to it that I just got caught in that so, so heavily in my 20s. It's, really important for me in any sort of relationship that I have, that it's respectful, that I feel emotional safety and authenticity, and that I feel genuinely seen, heard, valued, and connected. And that's the energy between two people when we can give and receive without judgment. And when you start valuing those things more than validation or excitement, the way you choose relationships begin to change. And I am such a big believer, as we know it, of the law of attraction. Whatever you're putting out, you're getting back. And boy, was that the truth. And I think one of the biggest paradoxes of modern life is that visibility has exploded. We are living in a culture where there's more content more access, more stimulation, more performance, and more exposure than ever before. But not necessarily more wisdom or more emotional safety, intimacy, or more truth. The average adult internet user is spending more than 6.5 hours online every single day. And the typical social media user we talked about is using social media a minimum of 2 hours and 23 minutes a day. This means a huge amount of human life is now being lived inside systems optimized for attention, not intimacy. And authenticity, intimacy, and connection all require almost the opposite of what the algorithm rewards. It requires slowness, presence, trust, honesty, and the willingness to be seen beyond the surface. Algorithms reward stimulation, attention, performance, and intimacy requires truth. So it makes sense that people feel surrounded by attention, but starved for real, true connection. So what about you, Kat? Did attention influence not just who you were attracted to, but how you presented yourself inside those relationships?
Well, I don't know if I could say it much better than what you did, Brie. I mean, I think what you described is probably the process most of us had to go through, especially in your 20s, right? Like one of the things I was able to share with my daughters growing up is your 20s are to figure out who you are, what you want out of life, and who you want to spend it with. So I got married when I was 21 and I had no idea who I was. My daughters have, they waited, they're in their 30s now before they partnered up. And I'm really happy about that for them because relationships definitely form you or create your self-identity, especially when you're really young. And in my first marriage, I assumed so much personality of that other person based on the feedback that I got that was not healthy, that was not good for me. But in general, if I just quickly answer that question, I don't feel that I do a lot of performing. I'm like an Aries, so like, we don't flirt. We don't mess around. Like if I say something to you, if I make a suggestion, I am ready to back it up. So it's kind of different. Like, being attractive is kind of always the goal for a girl. You're kind of conditioned for that. But I always felt like I needed that direct connection with someone in order to find them attractive or to understand if they thought I was attractive, right? And I think I've always needed to deal with somebody who had like a level of confidence because I have such a direct nature. I think most Aries have a very direct nature. Or at least they had to be interested in enough to put up with me for a while. But definitely when I was younger, you act a certain way. You're trying to figure stuff out. Like Jen was sharing before, like, oh, I've got so many of those cringe moments. If I was forced to recall all the silly, stupid, dumb things that I did or said, I mean, it would be horrible. But so if you're listening to this going, oh, yeah, I've done that. Don't worry about it, man. We're all in there with you. We've all done the things, accepting ourselves at a certain level. And I feel that those who, like, even at my age, if they're in their 6th decade of life and they're still presenting themselves through their looks or sexuality, it's really time to be more. There's so much more to us as we age. We have so much more to give than just that. So what might work when you're a teenager or a young adult, that cutesy, flirty stuff, I feel awful for those young people who feel the need to present themselves that way, to sacrifice their self-esteem, to take suggestive pics, the the phone way up here, and then like, oh, like I just wish they knew that that's not building them up. It's turning them into body parts.
Okay, so another real-time example is I recently binged this show that two girlfriends told me about. It was a snowstorm. My brain was fried. This was a very like binge-worthy show. But ironically, it was with women in their, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and in like the Palm Beach versus West Palm Beach, whatever area. And it was a reality show. And what was funny was there's literally women on this show like doing the poses you just did, Kat. There was a mom, I have to bring this up because I ironically was thinking about this. I was like, do I even have a chance of being like this when I'm in my 60s? But on this show, there's a mom whose daughter comes with like her grandkids and she's baking cookies for the daughter and the grandkids, just like she did when the daughter was young. And they're talking and having a lovely conversation. She's in a bikini. Like, who on the planet? No, she had a cover up on, but it's like one of those like net cover ups, right? Like, who on the planet? If you do, by all means, please reach out to me if this is like your normal daily pattern. Like, do you bake cookies in your bikini? Like, is this part of your normal day? If it is, I want to hear about it. And I want to know why in your 60s that this is like the thing to do. Now, here's why I was thinking about it. Like, if I have a rockin' bod and I'm smoking hot in my 60s, am I going to want to walk around in bikinis all the time? Just be like, hey, I don't know. But even if you are, would you do that with cameras? I'm 100% digressing here, but not entirely, because this really all ties together of attention can feel flattering, right? Like, I would hope this person on this show in their 60s baking in their bikini understands entirely the actions they are making. I hope they are not confused in those actions. I hope that they are doing it for themselves because it feels validating and like, hell yeah, I'm going to walk around my kitchen in a bikini. Watch me bake some cookies. Like, not actually watch me, but I'm so confident that
Yeah.
I choose to do
watch me.
kind of watch me, but like, hey, here I am. I'm validated and I am worthy. And my confidence is not only quiet, it is radiating out there. But are they doing it because that's really who they are? Or are they doing it because they're confused still in their 60s about who they need to show up as? And is that attention and what is the price they're willing to pay for that attention? And I can't speak for anybody else. It made me a little bit uncomfortable. Again, like would I bake cookies in my bikini? Like I don't know. Like, is that person uncomfortable? Are they confused and uncomfortable? I don't know. Regardless of what age you are, many people experience both feelings at the same time, right? It's confusing, but it's validating. And it's uncomfortable, but it's also empowering. And this is like the normal we don't really talk about. Is it normal? Why is it okay? And all of those pieces. Before I go down another, this is a show I binged rabbit hole. Kat, bring us back here.
Well, I guess the point we're trying to make is that confusion often happens before young people fully understand the implications of that said attention. A lot of people remember a moment when they realized attention about their appearance carried a different kind of meaning. Like maybe it was a comment or a suggestion or a message or somebody asking something inappropriate. And those moments can feel really complicated at the time until you start to really understand the full picture. And I think, Jen, you have a story to add here.
Oh, I sure do. I have several, but this is one that I think is PG enough to share here. And I know I'm not the only person this happened to. So unfortunately, this happens to young people way, way too much, and especially today. But I'm sharing this story because as we were prepping this episode, I don't think I've ever told anybody this story because I felt really confused. And I met a high school boy. Right? Like, he was super hot and he had big muscles because he was a baseball player, and like all the girls like massively crushing on him. And I mean, he obviously has really good taste because he chose me. But I'm being facetious with that because obviously in middle school I had zero confidence. But like, this high school boy chose to talk to me, even though every single girl there was crushing on him. And hello, feeling empowered. Like, I felt like this was before queen was a phrase, but like I felt like a total queen. Like, hello. So, anyways, we didn't have cell phones at this day. That's how old I am. So we talked on the regular phone, the one attached to the wall, and we were trying to figure out like when to see each other next. Again, he's in high school, I'm in middle school. We have different school schedules, all of the things, and we started talking on the phone a lot. And he started asking questions I didn't know how to answer. Like, the conversations started innocently enough, but then he started asking questions, and I was actually a really innocent kid. In fact, I had been called in my past a tease. I didn't even know what the hell that phrase meant, quite honestly. Like, uh, how am I teasing somebody because I'm existing? Like, what does that mean? In any case, I was not advanced in any way, shape, or form in the physical intimacy area. And he was asking me if I would give him something that rhymes with PJ. I had no idea what he was talking about. So like I changed the topics, I made jokes, like, but ultimately I was embarrassed because, like, am I supposed to know what he's asking me about? I don't know what he's asking me about. And I don't want to ask my girlfriends because obviously everybody knows this and I don't know what this is. And, like, thankfully at some point he cued into my nativity, uh or naivety. He figured out I was clueless because we never got the time to alone in a place to make this happen. Here's a rare moment. They are becoming more frequent, but at the time I did not appreciate my mother's loving, loving embrace. I'm going to use the word control freak because when I was in middle school, in my viewpoint, my mother was a control freak. And this is one of those times where, Mom, if you're listening, I am thanking you for being maybe a little too controlling at times. But quite honestly, there was no way my mother's rules and parameters would have allowed me to be in a place where I would be alone with him. And I'm thanking her at this moment because if I would have gotten in a situation where we were alone together, I don't know how I would have gotten out of it, quite honestly. And physically, he was so much bigger than me, right? Like, he's this big buff high school dude and I'm 5'2", little cutie Jen. I don't know what situation I might be walking into. And when I think back to it now, it's actually really scary to me today because this happens all the time. And with cell phones and no monitoring and parents' control freakiness being evaporated at some level, I I genuinely I'm sending love out to girls that find themselves in this situation, or boys that find themselves in this situation. And the reality is, if you are listening right now and you know somebody who this happened to, or you know people who are in this stage, ask questions without judgment and let them share, because there is no reason now that I'm a parent and I have a lot of life experience, there's no reason a high school boy should want to be alone with a middle school girl. And I'm even going to take genders out of it. High schooler, middle schooler, developmentally, emotionally, mentally, you are so different in those few years. When you get older, those few years don't matter. When you're at that age of middle school, high school, and I'm holding my hands up for a reason because there is a gap. There is a really big gap developmentally in those years. There's no reason that somebody with honorable intentions would be having those conversations. And it was an early grooming scenario. But how would I know that? How would any young person know that? And you get excited because somebody's interested in you, and especially if they're older, hidden power dynamic, right? And I can't emphasize enough. I just feel for kids today, period, because there's even the normalization of lipstick parties. If you are a parent and you don't know that phrase, it is scary AF. You need to go look it up right now because I heard about it from another parent whose kid was at a party like this in 7th grade. Not my kid, but another kid in my area. Like, it happens everywhere. And I don't think that people necessarily cue in that it happens everywhere because we're nice people and we live in nice areas and everybody has a camera and everybody thinks it's going to disappear, but it doesn't. And it is literally like the wild, wild west, except for now it's an internet social media version of the wild, wild west.
Ooh,
Yeah.
gosh, thanks so much for sharing that, Jen, because that
Yeah.
brought me down memory lane. And boy, can I relate. I mean, I could go on and on with stories
Yes.
there, but we'll save it for another day. I mean,
None of us are
sometimes-
alone.
None of
Yeah,
us.
None of us are alone.
And
Whew.
if I could add just one little thing, I was recently watching a woman on a podcast, and she brought up something that I thought was really important. And she said, "Do you know any female who, when she was from the ages of 10 to probably 14, that was not asked for something inappropriate?" Think about that. And I literally feel it's probably nearly 100% of young girls at that age are asked to do something or was presented with something that was completely inappropriate. I mean, that's how prevalent it is.
Oh my gosh. I mean, sometimes the hardest part is saying no.
Yes.
And it doesn't feel good. It's wrapped around shame and guilt and all of these feelings, especially when the tension feels good and you don't want it to stop. And you have the peer pressure that exists and everyone else seems to be participating. And you feel alone like you did, Jen. So young people can find themselves navigating situations they're not emotionally prepared for yet. And most of us as young individuals, like Kat said, are experiencing that because almost everyone can remember a moment when that attention shifted from feeling innocent to feeling a lot more complicated. And that moment often happens earlier and more often than people expect.
So today we explored something really, really common and not talked enough. And honestly, we're at the tip of the iceberg way up here. We're just barely scraping the surface. But it's how attention can move from validation to pressure to identity. And I was just looking up a fact that I sent myself. So I'm going to be a total dork and I'm going to pull up my phone because I literally read this at like 5:30 this morning when I was reading the news to the point where I sent it for myself. But there's a new study out from the 2026 World Happiness Report. So sorry, I'm looking down. I'm actually going to read this to you because it's directly tied to this entire episode about identity and how patterns emerge. But listen to this. In the 2026 World Happiness Report, for the 9th year in the row, Finland topped the list. So we should all do some homework. What are they doing in Finland? Let's go visit there. Maybe that's a retreat. Let's go visit Finland. But the reason I bring this up is the US is at spot number 23, which that doesn't surprise me at all. Here's and I'm reading this verbatim now. The sad part. The report focused on youth happiness more than ever before, and the kids aren't all right. Over the past decade, people under 25 in the US, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand have become less happy. Researchers link that drop to time spent online, especially for teenage girls. Are we surprised by any of this? No, we're not. The survey also notes that negative emotions are becoming more common in all global regions. So it's not just us being like, oh, hey, social media, and it's not the researchers we've referenced. It's literally a new report that came out on the 2026 World Happiness Report. The world is becoming less happy, number one, except for maybe in Finland. Again, we have more homework to do there. But overall, more and more researchers are attributing this identity and this lack of happiness to more time spent online, and how those patterns emerge and shape and see themselves again is all about what's being served to you and what you are consuming. I genuinely believe for some of these young people, it's well over 8 hours today. Now, in the next episode, we're going to talk about something really interesting, and I'm excited about it because as people move through life, you hear each of us share stories. They gain experience, they gain perspective, and they gain true confidence. Many start questioning the normal things they grew up with. So, as we dive into this next episode, we're going to dive into the sexualization paradox that starts to emerge in the 30s and 40s. So, I'm going to give you a teeny weeny preview. Like, if you're in the dating world right now and you're like, man, people don't show up the way they used to, it feels like something's changing. It absolutely is. And we're diving into it on the next episode. So, as always, my friends, if today's conversation resonated with you, please share this episode with somebody who might benefit from hearing it. Like, comment, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you do not miss this series. This series, like I said, we are going big and deep and explosive, and we're talking about the things that aren't talked about enough. We truly appreciate you spending your time with us, and we can't wait to see you next time as we continue this important conversation.